Yo, I'm just trying to make pimping my stuff a little bit more fun. So I have a YouTube channel, which is where you're probably watching this. That's Postmortem Video. I have a second channel called Grimstream. It's not got the proper name yet, but if you search for it, you should find it. And if you're trying to stop sucking at the teat of YouTube, you can always head on over to BitChute and find me at GrimJim. Hello lovelies. Let's round off this little trilogy of videos about language by talking about the term toxic. Now, it might be a little unfair of me to go after a term that's primarily used by the left again, meaning 2 out of the 3 are addressing linguistic attempts to control things by the left and 1 on the right, but this is more primarily a problem that exists on the left, this desire to shift and change language, to control thought through controlling language. That's why political correctness is so strongly associated with the left, even though its origins lie with tending to be right-wing governments going back. It depends how far back you want to go. But one of these terms is toxic, and I want to address some of the criticisms and complaints about the previous videos after, but toxic is a modifying word, but it can also leach over into, as with these other terms, trying to say that something is more than just not against your personal taste, but that it is somehow morally or ethically wrong, or its very nature is wrong, makes it dangerous, poisonous, venomous, something that needs to be eradicated. So while it can be used as a modifier, as we see it being used since, I guess, 2018 when it was chosen by Oxford Dictionaries to be the word of the year, as we see it used there, it's more about redescribing something as toxic, or at least that's part of the message that's being conveyed. Case in point, toxic masculinity. When the pseudo-left uses the term toxic masculinity, they insist that it's not masculinity itself that they're attacking, but toxic forms of masculinity. But that message is perceived by the centre and the right as an attack on masculinity, describing masculinity itself as toxic. And when you look at the kinds of things that they're talking about when they describe toxic masculinity, they tend to be, in my perception, my understanding, my decoding, to be extremes of positive forms of masculinity. And there's very little talk about toxic femininity, even though perhaps there should be about mean girls more than there is. So let's just take one example. Masculinity is to the left associated with violence, right? Which is also closely associated with competition. These are seen as masculine traits, masculine qualities, and sure, taken to extremes, they're terrible things, but they also exist at a lower level in a way that is not toxic. The capacity for violence, the ability to inflict violence, the willingness to inflict violence can be good. Soldiers, policemen, hunters, sportsmen to a degree, that whole thing, you know, it's not inherently bad to have the capacity for violence. It can be used for good causes. It can be protective. Yeah, you can watch out for your family, your loved ones, and so on. And competition, in a lot of instances, taken to extremes, that can be bad. It leads to risk-taking behaviour, that sort of thing. But the payoff is high if it succeeds, and a certain amount of competitiveness encourages a certain amount of efficiency, innovation, all of these kind of things. So everything they describe as being toxically masculine is just the qualities of masculinity, but read in the worst way, in the most extreme way, the most exaggerated way. And you could do the same when it comes to women. You could say that altruism and compassion is a feminine trait, but if you take it to an extreme, it becomes toxic. When you don't ever punish anyone, when there's no competition, when everything is utterly cooperative, that can be as toxic and problematic in its own way if you completely give up to the collective absolutely everything, if you're pathologically altruistic, if you forgive someone no matter what transgressions they make. I think we can all see how a society on that basis would pretty rapidly collapse. But I wouldn't describe femininity as toxic. I would describe these extremes of behaviour, but that's how it gets used. See, toxic makes it seem like something that needs to be eradicated, something that needs to be got rid of. Now, as a non-conventionally masculine guy, I would welcome a broader definition of masculinity that took in more cerebral, emotional, artistic sides of masculinity, but that's not what we're getting. We're just getting masculinity torn down and nothing built up in its place, which is not what happened with conventional femininity. But I don't want to get bogged down in that. The point is, it's just a case in point of how toxic gets used, just as problematic or degenerate gets used in order to label something that you don't like to be some kind of massive societal problem that must be addressed, that laws must be made, that things must be censored, that things must be controlled, right? And that's the common thread through all of these terms. Now, the objections that I had, primarily in private from people on the left, primarily in public from people on the right, when I attacked them, was the excuse was the same, right? It's, we're not calling for this to be censored or whatever, we're just criticising it. But you're describing it as something harmful, that something demands to be addressed. And we're at the point where, certainly coming from the left, accusations are enough in and of themselves to demand action and to create consequences. Even if there's doubt, even if it's not true, the mere accusation is enough. So if you call something racist, the fact of the matter, the intent, right, the mens rea, makes no difference. Case in point, black pumpkin lanterns. These have been withdrawn following complaints that it was somehow blackface and was racist. It's not like they called them nigords or anything, right? They're jack-o'-lanterns. They're just black so that they blend into the darkness more and the face lights up more. That's it, right? There's no racial animus or issue there at all. So why make the fuss? But the accusation is enough for a PR department or HR to fire people or to withdraw products at probably quite enormous cost. Maybe they'll just be taken away and repainted. Who knows? But still, an accusation is enough. Calling something toxic, calling something problematic, calling something degenerate is enough. Now, I've been accused of both sides, again, of hypocrisy somehow for taking issue here. Well, for me, go back far enough and you'll find the right wing talking about things being morally depraved or that they will lead people down the path to Satanism and whatever else. I've lived through that. I've lived through 2 waves of hyper-political correctness, the Tipper Gore era and the current era. So I've seen it and experienced it and lived it from both sides. And while both sides leave themselves wiggle room to say that, oh, we're not calling for censorship, the excuse for that is the same on both sides. Oh, we're just passing judgment. Oh, we're just criticising. Right? When it came to, before Gamergate, but bleeding into it, the reaction to Anita Sarkeesian was the reaction to a censor. And at the start, she wasn't going to the UN and demanding censorship. She wasn't demanding changes to the law or whatever in order to enforce her vision. She was using bullshit and social pressure and criticism that labelled things as being dangerous to create an implicit rather than explicit demand for censorship. And people responded to it, companies responded to it by changing things. There's also the matter of China, which confuses matters a bit, but there was a response. Things were changed even before she was explicitly demanding censorship. and changes in the law and whatever else. And our reaction to Sarkeesian and her ilk was quite rightly a reaction to an attempt to censor games, to censor expression. Now, when the right calls something degenerate or immoral, or starts talking about the downfall of the West because some women are twerking, or whatever else, that is exactly the same. And it has that same excuse. Oh, we're just criticizing, we're just giving pushback, we're just shaming people, whatever else. And there is a line here. But that line, for me, is defined where it goes from, I don't like this, to this must stop. And that line is crossed when you start saying that there are genuine, real negative effects to something. Whether it's moral degeneracy, leading the youth astray and keeping them out of church on Sunday, or whether it's inculcating people with racist and white supremacist ideas. It's the same thing, and your excuses don't wash with me either way, because even soft social power leads to censorship now. And there is a line there. It's a wibbly-wobbly, ill-defined line, but it is there, and for me it's where you cross over from saying, I don't like this, here's why, to I don't like this, it's dangerous, it's a genuine problem, it needs to be addressed, it needs to be dealt with. And I think the only way you can justify censorship is by demonstrating beyond any reasonable doubt that there is some sort of harm here. And even then, there's wiggle room around personal choice and what you're allowed to do to yourself and other people who consent. So, yeah, there we go. Hopefully that's clarified some things for people who are objecting. And the fact that the nature of your pushback on me was the same, that your excuses were the same, hopefully that's clarified that all. And can we please stop using toxic for things that aren't actually toxic? Zang. Halloween's coming up. Let's do some content for that.
In his house in R'lyeh, great Cthulhu lies dreaming, and when he awakens, he shall have the morning wood of aeons. Call of Cthulhu is a deeply pornographic card game. Enjoy your tentacles.